Montoya has gotten it wrong, man. Folks, welcome to the channel. Stay for this one. I'll analyze Montoya's video, which is quite interesting. I think he makes some common errors in terms of what Star Citizen CIG is actually doing, the perception that we have. So stay forward because you will get a new perspective, either if you're considering playing Star Citizen, if you're actively playing Star Citizen and wonder where this is going, if you're thinking of getting into it, if you're fed up, this is the video for you. Before I go on, no hard feelings. I have nothing but respect for Montoya. He seems like a very clever guy, and this is just a different opinion of mine. I'm absolutely certain that he's wrong, and I'll try to make a good case here. But anyone that I don't respect, I don't even bother analyzing anything they do or even watch their videos. So keep that in mind. Also, this is not my main bread. This is not what I do. This is what I do for fun. In terms of what I do, you probably see that little YouTube little thing there. Those are my other channels. That's what I do. I write books about preparedness and survival. So I do it in Spanish, in English. So that's what I do. You have my books if you're curious about that sort of stuff over there. Surviving the Economic Collapse, relevant book giving current times, and Street Survival Skills. That's a Spanish version of that same books, and the channels that I have regarding that are all in the description if you want to go check something out different from video games and entertainment, which is what I do here in these channels. That for me it's mostly fun, it's what I enjoy doing on my free time. So that's it. So we have Montoya here explaining the issue with Star Citizen at its current stage, right?
This applies to every horrible wrong decisions. That's in the gaming forums, and it's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay.
You are here. We're
Complaining
complaining on Reddit.
All right.
And the complaint will be that CIG is not listening. The complaints will be that CIG is not being professional in the way they're dealing with things, and CIG has made horrible wrong decisions. Does it all sound familiar to you? And again, this was not made for Star Citizen. This applies to every single other game.
Okay, yeah, and this is the main issue, the foundational issue, where I have no doubt that he's wrong. I don't doubt that whatsoever. I mean, I'm 99% certain that he's wrong about this, and I'll explain you why. Not listening, very common that you hear, and this is something that CIG wants you to think. Oh, we're just poor at communicating. We just communicate poorly. We're just a bunch of nerds. We don't know how to express ourselves, and we're not communicating well. We try, we make our best effort, but we're not communicating well. And then there's this thing about people that complain are a noise, a distraction, but this is a common thing. Okay, some people may think that. I don't think that's the case at all. All right, so enough about not listening. I think they listen enough for the things they care about listening. All right, second, not professional. Oh, these are, again, just a bunch of nerds and a dreamer. Chris Roberts is just a dreamer, that he's not, he's good at making video games and dreaming about them, but not actually executing. And they don't hire professional enough people. Not professional enough. Man, no, that is simply not true. They hire a lot of people that know exactly what they're doing, all right? Now, the problem is, you may think that they've hired them for certain things. You don't know what they're not explaining regarding other folks that they hire for other things that they have no interest at all in sharing with you, because that's part of the business, all right? So again, back to the not listening. Yeah, they listen. They're not communicating the things that they don't want to communicate, and they leave in a shady fog the things that they want to leave more confusing. Example of that, the frequency of wipes, why they are needed or not. Anyone that knows anything about programming will tell you right away that is not necessary. You have it in CIG Star Citizen itself with the hanger, your permanent hanger that is never touched, that never disappears. Oh, but that's different. That is magic money database. No, it's still a normal database like in every other game. You don't lose stuff because that's been something that's been solved by programming a long time ago. It's just a desire of incentivizing and promoting the idea of you spending more money. We'll get to that back in a second. wrong direction. Oh, they just don't know where they're going. They just go in one direction, then they go in the other. This is not what we started founding, like 10, 12, 13 years ago. This is completely different. Well, no, I think that, maybe this one is the one that is more on point. I think there was a point in which they started, many years ago, they started making a game, and then they realized, hey, we have a money-making machine here. We can keep on selling ships non-stop and never actually to release any kind of game. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's check with our lawyers. Is this legal? Well, it's only legal if you're actually continuously developing the game. If you stop developing a game, this becomes, legally speaking, a scam. It becomes a crime. You're just stealing money from people and not doing what you're supposed to do. As long as you do the smallest little bit of progress possible, as long as you spend, when we get sued, which we will, when those lawyers come after us, when the law comes after us, we show them we're doing things. We're working on sound. We're spending some of that money. How much money are you spending on actually developing the game? Oh, there's no definition of how much I should be spending. As long as I'm spending something that may be 0.5% of the money we're getting in actually truly developing the game forward, as long as that's happening, this is legally not a scam. That is the one that is missing, Montoya. That is the one that you don't have. You have not listening, you have not professional, you have wrong direction, you don't have the one that is the true one, the real one, which is, this is a pay-to-win mechanic. And that confuses people because it confused me at first. I first heard that word of pay to win. There's nothing to win here. I've said that in previous videos. There's nothing to win. There's no winning. But then I saw the video that Salty Mike reacted to, the pay to win the game, which I already had an idea of, man, this is super shady because of what I do. I do survival and preparedness. I look at something, that's the more negative aspects of what people do in terms of people trying to scam one another, people trying to steal from one another, people being criminals. That's a reality I deal with constantly for, decades now. So I'm always looking at, okay, what are you really about? Who are you trying to screw over? What are you trying to get out of people? And this has been something from the beginning. Star Citizen. There was a time when I first got into this with that video about this may be the best game ever because they're doing lots of these things. You probably saw that video. You probably started playing Star Citizen because of that video. I realized, and unfortunately a little bit too late, that most of that video was simply not true. They were talking about leaving a gun under a rock and coming back a year later and it still will be there. No, that was never real in Star Citizen. Probably will never be. But all of these things are why so many of us got into it. And besides, you could fly ships. You could do all of the touching buttons and opening doors and not having those volumes. So we got into that, but when you watch that pay-to-win video, you understand all of the different mechanics of a pay-to-win game. Pay-to-win the game, which is kind of a joke, 90% of what you see in that video regarding what is pay-to-win mechanics, about tricking you into thinking there's progress, getting you engaged, but then having you pay so as to have the better ship, then nerfing the ship, then wiping things, all of these things that you see in Star Citizen that make you angry but make you spend more money, that's what it's really about. So there's just not the right answer here. This is a pay-to-win mechanic. This is a business of mostly selling ships, getting people engaged, and then finding ways of convincing them that you need the vulture because mining is the greatest thing. You need a ship that refuels other ships, even though that's, I just, for the life of me, I cannot think of anyone flying around, but it has been sold. You will be sold a massive ship. I actually have the Banu Merchantman, which, conveniently, it's just around the corner, just Road to Pyro. Yeah, they will be releasing the Banu Merchantman right when they have Pyro. Yeah, I'm all in. Give me my Banu Merchantman. They were just, they were enticing you to think that it was just, they were showing you the art, how close it was to it. You would be getting this and this and this. All of a sudden, last year, just gone. It is just too big, guys. That is not all accidental. That is just to take a lot of money out of your pocket into theirs and making you think that it's just about there, and then it's not. And then a year later, they stop talking about it. And then they say, no, we've made the decision to shelve this because it is just too big. It makes no sense. All of that is not accidental. This is what Montoya apparently thinks. They're just wrong direction, not professional, not listening, or pure at communicating. No, these are all convenient excuses, guys. Okay, the one that is missing here is it's a business. It's a business about taking as much money out of you as possible, and it's all of the pay-to-win mechanics, which again sounds confusing. Go watch that the video that Salty Mike reacted to, that I reacted to as well. Go watch that video, and you will see all of that in play here. Okay, that is the main thing. He's not talking about the real reason why Star Citizen is what it is. It's not an accident. It simply is what it is. Now, I have my points written here, and I'll try to go through some more so as to not make the video super long.
At one point or another. Then we get the upcoming appeasing.
Okay, so yeah, we addressed that already. Some of the other things.
Boy, were we early. Now, 10 years later, I would have thought the game would happen. We all did. Look, nobody back in 2013 and 14 expecting to be where we are right now.
No, but another thing that I probably disagree with him, you know what's happened with the pandemic and all of that? They saw a massive, and it's true that, we started with one thing and then way before any of this, they decided that this would be a business that focus mostly on the what's called the pay-to-win mechanic, which you're not paying to win anything, but the entire model is focused on monetizing the idea of selling ships, monetizing the idea of selling concepts of ships, and that's what it really all revolves around. And you just put a shell of somewhat of a tech game demo thing going on there, and you do marketing and you do lots of promoting, and you have your YouTube content creator shills that I don't even talk about people like that, because that is something that I just don't agree with at heart. Being dishonest about what you're doing and being dishonest about where this is going, fully knowing that you're doing that simply because it's beneficial for you, economically speaking. That is one of the things that I don't even bother addressing, okay? But in terms of what people thought this would be, there was a huge jump in income, and that was a few years ago. This was about pandemic times, in which people, bored in their houses, they started playing this thing, and we thought, you know what? This is actually one of the things we've always wanted. We've always wanted the freedom of moving, going here, there, doing all of that in spaceships that felt real, almost like a simulator, which is not, again, something that people talk about. This is not a simulator in any way, shape, or form. But it was something that lots of us had been dreaming around, and Chris Roberts, obviously, he probably shared that dream at one point. Now that it's all long gone, he's mostly focusing on the ship sale aspect of the pay-to-win mechanic of Star Citizen, but that was a long time ago. The thing is that with 3 or 4 years since that peak of money, because the excuse is always what? We don't have enough money, we don't have enough time. Give us enough money and give us enough time, and we will deliver what we once promised. That is, way past its expiration date. But besides being past its expiration date, they got this huge jump in income a long time ago already. 3-4 years ago. That should have been the point in which, with 3 or 4 years, you should have seen a lot of improvement. And surprisingly enough, it is a period of time in which, it really didn't change all that much. It was kind of still the same. The amount of new content, the amount of new game, the amount of new things for you to do should have been enormous. And we saw none of that. And that's when you realize, beyond any shadow of a doubt, what they're doing in terms of the business. The business is about tricking you into getting involved in this and then selling you a new ship, and people will fall for that time and time and again. Eventually you will get fed up. But the thing that's going to be probably a breaking point, but I'll address this in a separate video, is Starfield will release. Starfield will change things. But let's finish first with this thing.
But then again, the game we backed in 2013 is nowhere even close to what we have now. Procedural planet tech, an entire planet made up of a city. These things weren't even in our wildest imagination back in 2013. So
here's where I think Montoya is still very much a dreamer at heart. I think he honestly thinks that the dream is still possible. I honestly think he believes that eventually they are. I think he believes they're trying to actually deliver. And I think they will actually deliver. I think he's absolutely wrong about both things. A city that is a planet, yeah, it sounds very cool. Once you see it, there's nothing like that. There's the same city as there is in Hurston. Maybe the most beautiful one, the one they work the most at actually doing the aesthetics, and is New Babbage. But the area 18, is it? Well, the city that is a planet, there's really not a city that is a planet, Montoya. It's just a volume and stuff that looks like it, but you know exactly that you land in a very specific area. You have a specific area for you to move around that's a lot smaller than the entire planet, so you don't have a planetary city, okay? Let's be honest about that. That is something that they often end up confusing people into thinking, oh, I have an entire planet of a city to explore. Jesus Christ, that is amazing. But even in the areas that you can explore, there's not much to do there anyway. There's no one to interact with that in terms of NPCs. There's nothing in terms of any of that for you to do. Okay, so it all looks very good, which is a key. It's intentional. They've planned it accordingly. It looks awesome. It's looking less awesome each year, but it's mostly about the aesthetics. There's not enough content in terms of meat to sink your teeth into, okay? Moving on to some of the other points.
Basically, all we have to go on at the moment. I say it myself, I don't play for a while, but when the new Spirit comes out, I'm in there because I want to try the new shiny ship I paid for. I'm going to enjoy flying around it for a while, and then I'll get bored also after that.
He's saying it himself. That's what Star Citizen is. You fly around the new shiny-looking ship, and then you get bored. And at least for me, it gets to a point where when you fly enough shiny new-looking ships, when you flew all of them, man, they're just kind of like, okay, if I don't have anything else to do, after a month or two, you don't have anything else, right? There's really not much of a point. Once you've flown all of the ships that are worth flying, and there's some that are not even worth flying at all, right? You get to that point.
Ships are the thing which keeps a lot of people engaged and excited.
He is correct about that.
And naturally, a lot of people talk about that.
Okay, let's move quickly. Point in minute 8, is it, that I have him addressing some other stuff?
The point I want to make on this also, and this is what I've been telling people on my Discord, there are people that backed with me in 2013, 2014, who hung around till about 2016 and then disappeared. They uninstalled the game, they go, I'll be back when there's something happening. That is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong.
Well, he talks also about selling your account. If you're fed up, sell your account. He says crying. I don't know anyone really crying about this. I see that people are angry. People are pissed because they feel they have been lied to, which they have. They feel they have been deceived, which they have, and they are angry and expressing that anger. That is not crying. That is perfectly legit. And I think it's a little bit of white knighting. Oh, stop crying. Oh man, they're complaining about something that is very real. You have been lied to. You have been deceived. Legally speaking, you've almost have been scammed into falling for something that is not real, and they know it's not real, and they know they will never deliver, and they know they will never add the content they always say they will. So, given how close this is to a scam, it is perfectly legit to complain about it. One of the things I found out is that most of the people that, and it's not Montoya's case, but most of the people complain, oh, you're crying, you're such a whiny baby. Most of those guys don't have babies at all. They have never seen a baby. They have never been in a serious relationship. They don't have a family, and they talk about things they've never seen up close. And that is interesting. That is something that I asked around in because you're bored, so you do these social experiments of asking around. 90% of people that complain about whining, crying, and complaining, especially whining and crying, they don't have children themselves, which says a lot. Anyway,
take a break and come back when there is something.
Yeah, there will never be much new.
If you are crying every day because you spent $45 a couple of years back and the game isn't made and that's really bothering you, uninstall. Just come.
Yeah, but you know what? If you spend, and $45, Montoya thinks it's not a lot of money. For some people, keep in mind, for Montoya, people play this game from around the world. I can tell you the effort that someone pays that someone in a third world country with a third world economy, yeah, it's not your problem. It's not on you. But some people in some parts of the world, $45 is a lot of money. It's probably the most expensive game they've ever bought. I'm not kidding. They don't buy anything else. They just look for these things, and making $100, it's a lot of money. And it's understandable why they're angry. And of course, there's people that have spent thousands of dollars and they say, well, it's just $1,000. And yes, everyone's economy is different. I can tell you that it's upset people enough that they've been, CIG has been sued. You know this perfectly well. And when they got sued, they go in front of a judge and they say, well, the game is actually fully released. We delivered what Star Citizen is always going to be. That's the truth. That's the reality. When they stand in front of the law and say, when CIG says, we have delivered, this is it, that's the only thing that matters. That's the truth. In terms of the law, in terms of lawyers, in terms of judges, in terms of getting sued, CIG has said that they've already delivered the game. What's up with that? That's the only thing that matters. The lies about, yes, we're working on this and that, okay.
At a later date. And if you're upset about the money part of it, look, I'm not advocating gray market, but there are ways to get your money back.
Yeah, probably I would if it bothers you enough.
Awesome. Here's one saying, I signed up for one 10-year journey. That's the next one has been.
Yeah, well, and he also mentions, and I'll end the video here because this may be better than a two-part video. The idea of Pyro, all of this will get better in Pyro, and he is also already predicting that people will get angry when Pyro releases. Well, yeah and no, but maybe that's better for a part 2 of this video. Guys, see you on the next one. Take care.